In this series, we're trying to change our negative mindset around van life in England by visiting some of its most beautiful bits. But rather than go for the big hitters that can often get overrun with tourists, we're hoping to find a few hidden gems by heading to some of England's least visited areas of outstanding natural beauty. This week, we're still in the south of England, treading the line between Devon and Somerset, and we are getting lost in the infamously narrow, windy lanes, learning the role this area played in fighting off the Spanish Armada, climbing ancient hill forts, admiring ancient obelisks, getting frustrated with not so ancient height barriers, and spotting wild horses.
Good morning from a very sunny Blackdown Hills area of outstanding natural beauty. Same as last week, we are kicking things off on our adventures here from a campsite. This is the only one in the area with a motorhome service point, and it's 30 quid a night, which again, pretty expensive for stuff that we don't need. However, we have made use of all the facilities, got all our van chores done, and we are ready to rock and roll. Something that is becoming quite apparent on this trip is that if we were only going to be travelling within the UK, I think having put a shower in our van would have been a complete waste of time and space. Because we can just use the campsite ones, we haven't actually used ours once yet on this trip, which is really unusual because we generally tend to use it a lot, and is very different compared to the airs in the rest of Europe where you do have to have your own facilities. Anyway, enough about that. The area of the country that we are in is another one that we have never been to before, and I was really excited to get here and start exploring until I started doing the detailed research for our itinerary. And that is because the first two things that I had earmarked to do here, which are supposed to include the two best viewpoints in the area, we can't do because the car parks have 2-metre height barriers on them, and I can't find anywhere else within a reasonable distance around them that we can park. And then to top it off, on the way to the campsite we tried to get some shopping, and there were 2-metre height barriers in the car park as well, so we couldn't even use that supermarket. So annoying. So yeah, I am in a bit of a bad mood with the Blackdown Hills. We are not off to a great start, but hopefully over the next few days we can change that. First stop of the day then is this monument behind me, the Wellington Monument. We actually just pulled into the car park to have some lunch after finally managing to find a supermarket that we could get parked in, and noticed that this was nearby, so yeah, thought we'd take a little walk to it. It was apparently built to commemorate the Duke of Wellington winning the Battle of Waterloo, I think that's right, and it is 53 metres tall and has just a really obscure fact about it, that it is apparently the tallest three-sided obelisk in the world. How random is that? Well, that was just a really quick walk. We were just saying the car park is really level and we couldn't actually see any no parking overnight signs, so we were like, oh, you know, we'll remember this one, but then we saw it.
Today has not gone to plan at all. In fact, it's been a bit of a difficult one, to be quite honest, and it all started after we left that obelisk because we had something else lined up to do, and it's on the way there that it all began to go wrong. Basically, we got completely lost. We ended up on the opposite side of the hill that we were meant to be walking up, and because the lanes around here and the roads are so tiny and tight and winding, it didn't take, just a few minutes to get back to where we needed to go. We had to completely retrace our footsteps, and it just took us absolutely ages to get here. Adi was having a bit of a hard time. She was getting fed up with being in the car. It was only meant to be a 10-15 minute journey. It turned into about an hour. So, you can't blame her really. And, she's a toddler. These things do happen. She does have her moments as well. We don't film them ever because that's not what we're about at all. But, rest assured, she does have them. Anyway, we arrived. It's quite a nice little park up, and scenic views. We're next to the thing that we intended to do this afternoon, so I think what we're going to do is just park up for the night, call it quits. We're going to cook some food, chill out for the evening, and then reset and start again tomorrow, and hopefully it'll all be a bit better.
Good morning. As Jay said, yesterday was a bit of a crap day, so after we'd had dinner and put Adi to bed, we just sat down and binge watched a load of our favourite YouTube channels, which made us feel a lot better. We're always on the lookout for new YouTube channels, so let us know what your favourites are in the comments, and there might be some that we don't know about. This morning we are going to head off on that hike that we were going to do yesterday. We are determined to have a better day, so we're going to start it off right with our favourite breakfast. Obviously, it's a little bit more chaotic and messy cooking with a toddler, but it's something that we think is really important, and we try to do it as much as we can. We just all really enjoy it. It did take even longer than usual as well, though, because there were loads of horses that kept going past, and Adi is just absolutely fascinated by horses at the minute, and that one of them even came up to the door, like the woman brought it here so that we could stroke the nose. It was really cool, wasn't it? Well, the weather has well and truly gone downhill today. It was so warm and sunny yesterday, and today it actually feels like it might rain. So hopefully that doesn't happen before we get back to the van. The viewpoint that we have walked to has a beacon on it called Culmstock Beacon, and it's one of a series of quite a few Elizabethan beacons in this area. And basically what they were for is that they would have a big torch out of the middle, and someone would be here night and day looking for other beacons off in the distance right up to the coast where there would be an enemy invading. So it was used, for example, during the times of the Spanish Armada, and then everyone around where the beacons were knew that they needed to get ready to fight.
Incredibly, this hut is roughly 500 years old, and whilst it was restored in 1870 after it collapsed, it's in exactly the same form it would have taken back then, and is one of the best kept examples of this type of beacon in the country. The things it must have seen.
It's a good job this is here as well, because it's absolutely chucking it down now.
Yeah, but it's not the best shock. It's got a massive hole in the roof. I've just learnt something at the top of that hill that has blown my mind a little bit, so I'm going to share it with you. And next to the beacon hut there was a trig point. Now if you have ever climbed a hill or a mountain in Britain, then you'll have definitely seen a trig point. They're these little metre high obelisks that are usually kind of at the top of any hill, and I've always thought that they were basically just markers for the crest of the hill, because you always find them right at the highest point. I never knew what they were actually for, and on this trig point there was a sign that explained their actual purpose, and they do have one. And quite similar to the beacon hut, they're actually used to shine lights from, but it was the Ordnance Survey who used them. They built them in the 1940s, I think, in order to map out the whole of Britain. And what they did was put a huge torch on top of it, and they'd shine it to the next trig point, which was at the next highest hill around, and they'd be able to accurately measure the distance between them, and that's how Britain was mapped out by the Ordnance Survey. Absolutely incredible. Before we set off on this walk, Sarah had told me that apparently there are wild horses that roam in these parts. Now, I didn't believe her whatsoever, and actually I'm aware that there's not really such thing as a wild horse left in the world at all. But we were just admiring the landscape over there and talking about how beautiful the purple heather is at this time of year. And we've spotted some horses just off in the distance that are pretty much just roaming about by themselves. They don't have saddles, they don't have any tethers or anything like that. And Sarah just told me some facts about it, and basically they are owned and people do look after them and give them veterinary care, but they're just free to go wherever they want, which is incredible. But one thing to note about them is that apparently they are not tame whatsoever, and they react really badly to humans approaching them. So we're not going to get any closer, just admiring them from afar, but they're absolutely beautiful. This is where we're calling home for tonight. It is a beautiful little secluded spot in the middle of some woodland. Couldn't get much better really. And we actually came here to go to a place called Hembury Fort, which is just across the road from this car park.
Here at the Hembury Hill Fort site, excavations have revealed pottery, flints, axes and even food that are evidence of a settlement existing here since the Neolithic period. That's thousands of years. But not only that, it was also subsequently used as an Iron Age fort and as a base for the Roman army in the middle of the 1st century AD, so it's experienced its fair share of history.
Well, what a lovely park up this has been. It's just been really, really chilled. Everyone that's been going past, walking their dogs, has just been stopping to have a chat with us, and we've genuinely just not felt in the way, which is really refreshing. We've spent the morning here and I've got a bit of work done, and James and AD went for a walk. We've had a nap and had some lunch, and we are now about to head off and find something else to do for the afternoon and somewhere else to park, because as lovely as it has been, we don't want to overstay our welcome here. One thing that we do need to do is find some bins, because it's not usually actually an issue in the UK, to be honest, not something that we struggle with, but we just haven't found one for the last few days, so yeah, need to get rid of this. These height barriers genuinely make me so mad. I was actually just going to go and open that one if I could have, so that we could have parked in. There was a lovely big car park and there were like 2 cars in it. It's just really ridiculous that because we have a bigger vehicle, we can't go in these places. And to be honest, they're so low, those height barriers, that I think even if you had a bigger car, like, you know, like a Range Rover or something with a roof box on top, you wouldn't have been able to fit in. It's just ridiculous. So yeah, anyway, we're still trying to find something to do this afternoon. Basically, the roads are so small around here, so narrow, that unless there's a car park, there's just nowhere to park, even for cars, let alone big vehicles. So yeah, we're just trying to find somewhere that we can park and be able to spend the afternoon outside. Well, after driving around for about 45 minutes, we have finally found somewhere to park. It's at a nature reserve, so we can go for a walk, and there wasn't any height barriers on the car park, so we are all good. It does say in the reviews that you can't stay overnight here, even though we can't see any signs saying that you can't. It is overlooked by a house just at the back there, so yeah, this isn't somewhere where we will stay tonight. We're just going to spend the afternoon here and then head on somewhere else.
As we were driving on our way here, me and Sarah were just discussing about how heavily forested this area is. Pretty much all of the walks that we've done have been through really dense woodland, and actually a lot of the roads that we've been down as well have been forested either side. And it's been lovely being surrounded by all this greenery. And this place where we're at now, called Otterhead Lakes, is no different. There is a body of water which makes a nice change, but it is completely in the heart of the forest. And we're about halfway around the walk that we're doing, and Sarah decided that now is the optimum time to tell me that this area is home to a really large community of the UK's only poisonous venomous snake, the adder. I've actually had an encounter with an adder before. I was about 5 or 6 years old, and I was out for a walk with my parents on some heathland, and I'd run off ahead, and they said that I called back that there was an adder in the path, and I don't think that they believed me, because they're actually pretty rare. You don't usually spot them. But as they ambled up, they saw that there was indeed an adder lied right across the track that we were walking along. Now, they're not really anything to be scared of. Generally, they're more frightened of us than we are of them. But I'm still going to be keeping my eyes open, because I do not want to get a bite of one of them.
Good morning. Well, we eventually managed to find somewhere to park up last night, and we slept absolutely fine. But I think the best word to describe it was functional, because it was just a lay-by at the side of quite a fast road, and whilst the traffic did die down overnight, it got really busy quite early this morning, so we headed off first thing. Jay had spotted that there was a kids park a few minutes drive away, so that's where those two are right now, having a play outside. It's been a bit of an odd one, this area of outstanding natural beauty, because although parts of it have been quite challenging finding places to park, we have really enjoyed the things that we have done. And the landscape and scenery feels really quite different to anywhere else that we've been this summer yet so far. So that's been really interesting to explore. Would we come here again? Probably not. But we also wouldn't not recommend it either. I think it's just not been one of our favourites maybe. And we still haven't found anywhere to get rid of this stinking bloody rubbish either. Anyway, after breakfast, we are heading off to the North Wessex Downs, so we shall see you there. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and let us know in the comments what you thought of the park-ups that we did manage to find. Also, if you're new around here and haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do that and click the little alarm bell thing so that you get notified next time we post a new video. Thanks for watching.